I asked two questions. Do we have the sight to see? And do we have the courage to do? 150 years ago, Charles Darwin challenged accepted thinking. My mum is 95 years old, so it's not that long ago and she's still alive. That the world actually was created in 7 days, and that was the accepted thinking. And this guy on his own took it on. He had to go against his family, the church, the government, everybody. But he had the courage to challenge. And he changed the way we think. Today has a lot to do with dreams. We should never forget our dreams. And inspiring other people with this dream, the Pure Advantage dream. And last time I was properly dressed, I had a dream to become the first person in history stupid enough to walk to both poles. This is what I wanted to look like. Why, I'm not too sure. But the story I'm going to tell very, very quickly is about what's possible to achieve together. Every single person here is a leader, and we've got to step this up, step up the game on leadership. It took me, as was said, 7 years to raise $5 million in a warehouse in the East End of London. 5 years of that time working as a taxi driver in London, and everybody saying, no, you can't do it. It'll never work. You're stupid. You're completely insane. And I think good leadership in a world dominated by word, email, text actually requires us showing commitment. You don't inspire people by sending an email. You inspire people by doing, walking the talk. That is what Pure Advantage is about. And eventually, after years of raising the money, we bought a ship, we sailed round the world and popped into New Zealand, port of Lyttelton, and met the sole surviving member of Captain Scott's expedition of 75 years earlier. Bill Burton, still going. Look at the size of his hands. He was a stoker on Captain Scott's ship, Terra Nova. Sadly, he died 3 months after we headed south. Got a bit stormy, and I thought we should be in the Bahamas. And we arrived in Antarctica. The dream started. 5 of us would live on the edge of Antarctica for a year, and 3 of us would again undertake something that people said could not be done. The longest unassisted march ever made anywhere on Earth in history. No radios, no backup, no GPS, 900 nautical miles, 1 building the size of this room, the South Pole Station, 3 people, 80 days of food and fuel, 6,000 crevasses on the way, following in the footsteps of the real explorers, Scott, Shackleton, Amundsen. And as we reached one point on the journey, the Great Polar Plateau, beneath our feet, 90% of all the world's ice, 70% of all the world's fresh water. Frankly, I'd never thought about the environment. I kind of did this because it went down well with girls at parties, to be honest with you. But at this moment, I did think it's probably not the best idea if we melt this with some extra swimming classes, 16,000 feet of solid ice in that area of Antarctica. And as we closed in on the pole, our ship, Southern Quest, returned from New Zealand to collect us. A plane would fly from the ship to the pole to collect us. But we had to do something we promised to do. And tonight is about promises. It's easy to go away this evening and say, yes, great idea, but we've got to make a commitment. And I made a commitment to a truly great man before I left for the South Pole. Jacques Cousteau from France. He helped me raise the money. And in return, he asked me to leave Antarctica clean and tidy. Take everything away. And that was our promise to him. At the end of the expedition, we'd clear Antarctica and just leave our footsteps in the snow. And after 900 miles, 70 days, we reached the pole. Quite hard work. I lost 32 kilograms in 70 days. A bit thin, no brain left, but it was worth it. And we stood there for 5 minutes. And I think on this journey that we begin, that the team have already started a long time ago, we must stop and celebrate milestones, celebrate success. It's really easy to plough through life. Wake up one day and it's all gone. What inspires people are results. To stop and celebrate this progression that I intend to start this evening. Bit of bad news when we arrived at the pole. Our ship sank. I mean, sort of thing that happens. But we made a commitment to the great Jacques Cousteau. Ship's gone. I'm bankrupt. No money. 60 tons of equipment on the shores of Antarctica. 3,000 miles back to New Zealand. No money. But that wasn't going to stop us. 3 volunteers spent another year in Antarctica. I got the rest of the expedition out on a borrowed aeroplane, let's not go there, and returned a year later, cleared it up. Something happened to me. And I think it's really important we think about this. Something happened to me that brought me here this evening because it hurt me. My eyes changed colour in 70 days walking to the pole. Our faces blistered off. Why? Because we walked under the hole in the ozone layer. We touched something. And I just hope and pray that through things like Pure Advantage, that we don't get hit. It may take the world being hit harder for us to really engage. But I hope that doesn't happen. Having blisters in your eyes, you never forget it. I went to go and see Jacques Cousteau, which was a bit of a mistake, and he gave me a mission, a 50-year mission 20 years ago. What I like about today is this has to be long-term. It can't be here today and gone tomorrow. The mission was, in the year 2041, the treaty that preserves Antarctica can stop. And I think it'd be really great if we just left one place alone on Earth forever as a natural reserve land for science and peace. They sound good words, don't they? But words don't mean anything unless we back them with action. And in our own small way, we tried. Bit more walking now, unfortunately. Dreams have to come true. Can't sit there talking about them. So now it was time to head north. Not something I relished particularly. Being the first person in history to do something nearly always hurts. So this time, 8 of us from 7 nations are going to walk for 700 miles across a frozen ocean. It's hard work walking to the North Pole, as well as being totally unnecessary. You can be eaten as you go. And I know full well that, sadly, we have to deal with people who do not believe, yet, that issues like climate change and global warming are real. Polar bears live on ice. It's their home. Go and ask them what's happening. The saddest thing I've ever seen in the animal kingdom is a polar bear swim itself to death off a ship. I'll never forget that. And that's happened in 20 years, 7,000 days. We need to listen. Because if we don't listen, we're blind. 20 years ago, we had plenty of ice. There's me coming in from washing at minus 50. You'll notice there's nothing hanging in the central area. It's rather chilly. And even 20 years ago, we had a battle. 20 years ago, the ice beneath us melted 4 months before it was supposed to. We had a fight to stay alive. People became injured, but we hung on in there and we stood at the North Pole. 22 years on from having a stupid idea, I hadn't done it, we had done it. And we flew a flag which I still believe is important, the flag of the UN. Visited Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, fantastic lady. Family's a bit dodgy, but she is fabulous. And was invited to the first World Summit ever on the environment, asked to speak to all the world leaders for 5 minutes, which is not something you should do at 0800 hours, because they were all asleep. But at the end, this was the challenge. It's hard to imagine that this was the challenge 20 years ago. And tonight is a challenge. Don't underestimate it. It is a challenge. And leadership, I believe, is response to challenge. So what's your response going to be?